Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to feeling genuinely well-informed without getting totally swamped by the news cycle. You know that feeling, right? Just so much happening all at once. Hard to know what really matters. So, okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today, cut through the noise from just 3 really intense days, September 9th to 11th, 2025. We'll hit the big geopolitical shifts, crucial stuff happening in North America, some mind-bending science and tech, and the tough global challenges, too. It's about finding the key takeaways, the surprising bits, and seeing how it all connects.
And that's the fascinating part, isn't it? How these seemingly separate things, a court case here, drones there, a new gadget, they're all happening at the same time. And they're influencing each other, shaping the world in ways that aren't always obvious at first glance. We'll help you connect those dots.
Right, see the bigger picture. So let's dive in. Geopolitical fault lines first. And, wow, a huge one in Latin America, Brazil. On September 11th, the Supreme Federal Court, the STF, they convicted former President Jair Bolsonaro, sentenced him to 27 years and 3 months for his role in that alleged coup plot after the 2022 election.
A 4-1 vote on the panel. Co-defendants sentenced too.
He's under house arrest for now, appeals pending, but it links back to that January 8th storming of government buildings, months of tension building up.
It's a major moment, a real litmus test for democratic accountability in, well, Latin America's biggest country.
So what's the ripple effect? I mean, how did people react?
Very divided, as you'd expect. Lula's supporters, they hailed it, a landmark for the rule of law. But Bolsonaro's allies, and even some voices in the U.S., well, they immediately called it political persecution.
So it could reshape the right wing there and test the institutions.
Exactly. It puts immense pressure on the courts, on the political system. The question is, does it strengthen democracy or deepen the polarization? It could, paradoxically, even galvanize his base long term.
A real tightrope.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift to Europe. NATO territory. Something unprecedented happened. September 10th. Poland. Backed by NATO aircraft, they shot down multiple drones, Russian drones, entering their airspace during an attack on Ukraine.
Right. This is the first known time a NATO country has actually fired, in relation to the Ukraine war, not just stray missiles landing by accident.
Big difference. So, immediate actions.
Airports closed briefly. Poland invoked Article 4 consultations with NATO. That's the step for when a member feels its security is threatened.
And they pushed back hard on the idea it was accidental.
Flatly rejected it. Called for an emergency UN Security Council meeting, too.
So what's the gravity here? Escalation risk.
Huge. I mean, first, there are the immediate aviation safety concerns. Very real. But the bigger picture, it potentially changes the rules of engagement. It raises the stakes considerably for Europe.
You saw airline stocks wobble a bit.
Yeah, and European governments immediately started talking seriously about boosting air defenses. If more incursions happen, NATO might have to get much clearer, much firmer on its red lines to deter spillover without, triggering a wider war. It's incredibly delicate.
Delicate indeed. Okay, pivot again. Middle East, a diplomatic shocker. September 9th, an Israeli strike in Doha, Qatar, targeting Hamas political leaders.
Which is significant because Qatar's been a key mediator, right?
Yeah.
In the ceasefire talks, hostage negotiations.
Exactly. So an attack there on a Gulf state's territory that sent shockwaves. Some Hamas leaders were killed. Tragically, a Qatari mediator, too. The reports say some top Hamas figures survived.
And the UN response.
By September 11th, the Security Council put out a statement condemning the strikes. And here's the kicker. The U.S. supported it.
Even without explicitly naming Israel in the text.
Correct. Which is unusual. Hamas said it wouldn't change their demands. Qatar's PM flew to Washington for urgent talks.
That U.S. support for the condemnation, that signals some rare daylight between Washington and Jerusalem, adds a whole new layer of complexity.
How did others react?
Gulf states, European governments, they criticized it, worried it could just unravel everything, all the fragile diplomatic work.
So could it pressure them back to the table or just harden positions?
That's the million-dollar question. It could go either way. Heighten the sense of urgency or just deepen the anger and mistrust. Very risky.
Okay, while we're on geopolitics, just a couple of other quick but important movements. China's Navy.
Right. Around September 11th, word came out Beijing's 5th aircraft carrier is nearly ready to launch. It's part of their ongoing massive military modernization. The implication, extending their naval reach further out, Philippine Sea maybe, complicating things around Taiwan.
Pressuring neighbors to react, I assume.
Definitely. Pushing them to invest more in their own defenses, their own air and sea denial capabilities.
And in France, political trouble.
Yeah, a new prime minister, Sébastien Lecornu, installed on September 10th. But it happened amid these big block everything protests, hundreds arrested.
He pledged cross-party deals, trying to tackle the budget, the debt.
He did. But there's real market anxiety about France's debt. And the ECB, the European Central Bank, kind of underscored that.
How so?
On the 11th, they held interest rates steady, signaled no immediate plans to, jump in and rescue France's bond market. The message was clear. Paris needs fiscal discipline. Manage your own spreads.
Okay, let's bring it closer to home. North America, society, economy, policy. Starting with something really tragic in the U.S., September 10th, conservative activist Charlie Kirk, just 31, was shot and killed while speaking at Utah Valley University.
Awful news. Investigators found a rifle nearby, still looking for a person of interest.
President Trump responded quickly. He said Kirk would get the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously.
Yeah.
Called him an incredible guy. VP Vance flew to Utah.
It sent shockwaves, of course.
Yeah.
Bipartisan condemnation followed. But the underlying context, it's sobering.
What do you mean?
Well, experts immediately started warning this could fuel a vicious spiral. Retaliatory threats, more polarization. It really highlights the dangers of online radicalization, the heated rhetoric.
Security at events must be under scrutiny again.
Absolutely. And just the fragility of civic discourse right now. It's concerning.
And also, that week, September 11th, the 24th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks.
Right. A day for remembrance, reflection, honoring those lost. But also, a reminder about security resilience. And this year it prompted fresh warnings, too, about how threats evolve. Digital extremism, those blurred lines, it's an ongoing challenge.
Okay, let's switch to the U.S. economy. Kind of a mixed bag, might make your head spin a bit. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports September 11th. August inflation, it picked up. 0.4% month over month, 2.9% year over year. Core at 3.1%.
So inflation's still sticky.
Yeah, but stock markets hit fresh records. Dow over 46,000. S&P, NASDAQ, all-time highs.
How does that square? Inflation up, stocks up.
Seems like the market was betting the Fed would still cut rates at the next meeting, despite the inflation numbers.
Focused on the potential easing ahead.
Right. And meanwhile, U.S. food prices saw their biggest monthly jump since 2022. So, real pressure on household budgets there.
It really sharpens that debate, doesn't it? Is it immaculate disinflation, cooling prices, no recession, or are we looking at stagflation risks?
And the tariffs playing a role.
Seems like the delayed impact is still feeding into consumer prices. But investors, they're looking at signs the labor market's cooling off, hoping for that easier Fed policy.
So good for stocks, maybe, but tough for regular people's wallets.
It's a tricky balance for policymakers, for sure. A real tightrope.
And speaking of the labor market, there was a significant revision to the job numbers.
Oh, right. The Department of Labor revised down the job growth estimates for the past year.
By over 900,000. That's a lot.
Yeah, that definitely raises questions about just how strong the labor market really was. Undermines confidence in the forecasting a bit, potentially.
And quickly, oil prices.
Yeah. They drifted lower around September 11th. Brent and WTI. The IEA flagged record global supply expected for 2025. Maybe softer demand growth.
Some relief for inflation, maybe.
Could be at the headline level, but it puts pressure on oil producers, their budgets, investment plans down the line.
Okay, let's look at some key legal and policy shifts in the U.S. Seemed like a busy day on September 11th. A federal judge in Oregon blocked the Trump administration's Title IX policy, the one reshaping school duties towards transgender students. Affected Head Start programs.
Temporarily blocked, right, pending further review.
Right. And at the same time, the Supreme Court weighed in on immigration, allowed federal officers broader scope to make immigration stops in L.A.
By staying a lower court's injunction, yes.
So these two rulings, what are the immediate impacts?
Well, for schools, it creates confusion, doesn't it? Especially in navigating state versus federal rules on transgender rights as the school year starts. And for immigration advocates, local officials in LA, big operational changes coming because of that Supreme Court stay.
Highlights that ongoing tension, state versus federal.
Absolutely. Constant legal battles over social policies, civil rights, playing out court by court, state by state, creates a real patchwork.
Okay, let's cross the border. Mexico, making a big move on trade. September 10th, 11th, plans announced to hike tariffs on Chinese cars from around 20% up to 50%.
Wow, that's a jump, part of a bigger overhaul.
Yeah, potentially affecting imports worth $52 billion. President Sheinbaum said Mexico isn't seeking conflict. China wasn't happy, called it coerced.
So what's the strategy behind this? It feels significant.
Oh, it's huge. Their thinking is this could really reshape supply chains in North America, push that nearshoring trend faster.
Meaning more manufacturing moving to Mexico.
Exactly, closer to the U.S. market. But it definitely tests Mexico's relationship with China, and it comes just ahead of that USMCA trade deal review in 2026.
Any downsides?
Prices?
Probably some short-term price bumps for consumers, yeah. But the bigger goal, the policy aim, is protecting Mexican jobs, hundreds of thousands in the auto sector and related industries. It's a calculated gamble.
Okay, let's shift to our final section, science, tech, and global challenges. Starting with tech and a truly massive deal, OpenAI. Reuters reported on September 10th they're close to signing a deal with Oracle.
The scale is just staggering.
Almost a decade long, roughly $300 billion. For chips, data center capacity.
$300 billion. That's one of the biggest infrastructure deals in tech history, surely.
What does it signal strategically?
Well, it shows OpenAI wants to diversify, not rely on just one cloud provider for all that essential compute power. And it could seriously shake up the competition between the big cloud players, the hyperscalers. It really highlights that AI leadership now. It's as much about securing raw computing power as it is about the algorithms.
Intense demand for compute.
Exactly. And it raises questions, too, about regulation, financing, the sheer energy needs of AI.
And related to OpenAI, a governance change announced on the 11th.
Right. OpenAI and Microsoft restructured their partnership. OpenAI is becoming a public benefit company.
New terms with Microsoft. What does that mean practically?
Microsoft stays the preferred Azure customer, so Azure is still key. But OpenAI gets more freedom, apparently, to work with other cloud providers, too.
How's that being received?
Generally seen as positive. For businesses using AI, it signals durability, maybe more openness. Analysts think it might also help ease some of those antitrust concerns that were bubbling up around the original Microsoft deal. Keeps Azure central, but maybe looks a bit less exclusive.
Interesting balancing act. Okay, shifting to Apple, their big fall event on September 9th, coverage rolling through the week, they unveiled the iPhone 17 line and this new super thin iPhone Air.
How thin are we talking?
5.6 millimeters. Really slim, titanium design, but still flagship performance promised.
Wow. And the regular 17s?
New A19 chips, camera upgrades.
Right.
Pre-orders started the 12th, hitting stores the 19th, plus refresh AirPods Pro and Apple Watch.
So Apple's pushing hard on design again, trying to drive those upgrades.
Seems like it. How does the market see it?
Analysts are watching closely, you know. How will the design, the pricing affect sales, especially in a mature market? And there's still that background pressure, the trade tensions, pushing them to diversify production more, especially towards India.
Always multiple factors at play.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to some groundbreaking science. CRISPR. September 10th, scientists announced a breakthrough. A new nanostructure that apparently makes CRISPR gene editing 3 times more efficient and safer.
That's huge for gene editing. More efficient and safer.
Yeah, researchers at Northwestern detailed new methods for getting the editing tools into cells successfully. Could open doors for gene therapies, disease prevention.
Truly revolutionary potential there. But it brings up the ethical side too, doesn't it?
Always does with CRISPR.
Yeah, bioethicists are already, urging caution, calling for careful oversight as this moves towards any clinical use. The potential good is immense, but so is the responsibility.
A necessary conversation. And looking outwards beyond Earth, some exciting astronomy news. Around September 11th, 2 things. Discovery of a massive new trans-Neptunian object way out past Neptune.
A TNO. What's special about this one?
It's called 2017 OF201. Has an incredibly long orbit, like 25,000 years. Gives clues about the early solar system.
Fascinating. And the other news, Mars.
Yeah, reports from Mars missions suggesting rocks found with possible ancient biosignatures, hints of past life.
Wow. Okay, so both of these, they feed into those huge questions, right? How do planets form? Is there life elsewhere?
Exactly. Really captures the public imagination. Boosts calls for more space exploration funding, too.
Makes you wonder what else we'll find out there.
Definitely. Okay, let's wrap up with a couple of pressing global challenges. First, health. An Ebola outbreak declared in the eastern DRC.
Oh no, not again there. Confirmed around September 10th, 11th.
Yes. WHO mobilizing support. Early reports mentioned confirmed cases, fatalities, neighboring countries already ramping up screening.
That's a region already facing so many challenges. Humanitarian groups must be stretched thin.
They're warning about resource strains, yeah. Overlapping crises.
Swift action is just critical there.
Yeah.
Localized response, tracing, community engagement has to happen fast to stop it spreading wider.
A really tough situation. And finally, a climate disaster note. Heavy rains causing chaos. September 10th, 11th again.
Yeah.
Floods hit Tokyo, shut down transport, and devastated villages in Indonesia.
Just stark reminders, aren't they, of climate change impacts, urban vulnerability.
Yeah. Leads to those urgent calls, right?
Yeah.
We need faster investment in mitigation and adaptation, helping communities cope.
Absolutely. The costs of inaction are just becoming clearer and clearer, storm by storm.
So bringing it all together, these few days in early September 2025, it really felt like a microcosm of everything, didn't it? From democratic accountability in Brazil, new lines being drawn in Europe, huge tech deals, scientific leaps, signs of ancient life on Mars, all the way to these immediate pressing human crises.
It really underscores how interconnected everything is. These aren't isolated events. They weave together.
Connecting those dots is crucial.
Exactly. Because knowledge is powerful, especially when you understand the context, the undercurrents. In a world changing this fast, that understanding is key to navigating what comes next.
Well said. And that actually leads me to a final thought for you, our listeners, to mull over. Given how quickly all these major stories we talked about are unfolding, how they're impacting each other, what current event do you think will become the most significant turning point for the world in the next year? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.